For 26 years, I've not woken up one morning saying, I don't want to do this. The lessons that I've learned out of the therapeutic space, the life lessons, are just fabulous. Because one aspect which I credit with your generation is there is a certain strength you'll have in being open. You're not, in a sense, so ashamed as my generation.
So hey everyone, thank you for watching the Chai or Coffee show, and you're watching the Inspirational Women series Just Her. And today's inspirational woman is Anna Chandy.
So today we are here with India's leading supervising and training transactional analyst. She is the chairperson for the Live Love Laugh Foundation, which was founded by Deepika Padukone. She is a lady with her professional experience of 20 plus years, has mentored and counseled so many people, including Deepika Padukone. So it's an honor and privilege for us, ma'am, to interview you at the Chai or Coffee show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Anna, most of our battles are almost lost in our mind even before we actually go to the battlefield, right? So we have been pushed, we've been put down, and we've been made, feel inferior in many situations and with many people. So in general, what happens is that we never talk about mental health. When we talk about health or illness, it's only spoken about as a physical illness. We never talk about mental illness. And even if it comes to mental illness, we never talk about it in our families, nor do we talk about it, nor are we taught in schools. So I honestly don't exactly know what it means. So would you like to put it in simple words what mental health means?
I think mental health is a very broad term, and it includes both mental well-being and mental illness. And the stigma really, most of the stigma is surrounding mental illness. I think historically all over the world, mental illness there is a lot of stigma around it, because it was almost like a grandiose belief that we human beings could control our brain, which is actually not true. Because the brain is just as vital an organ as other vital organs in our body, and we don't have the capacity to control other vital organs. So then how do you kind of isolate the brain and say this you have control? And also surrounding certain narratives around mental illness, that because we have this control, we need to have certain attitudes that help us keep the mind and the brain in control. So in a sense, people who suffer from mental illness are always blamed for getting the illness. So that also is an issue. So when you come and ask me what is mental health is about, if we are talking about good mental health first, is about an individual's capacity to function in their day-to-day life with certain satisfying experiences. That doesn't mean that they don't have life stressors, because life stressors are common to all of us. How we manage and cope with these life stressors actually shows us the state of our mental health, whether we are in distress or we are at ease. So that's mental well-being. When you talk about mental illness, I always look at it, the best way to metaphorically show it is you have a heart attack, right? What happens when you have a heart attack? The heart is calling out saying, I'm not okay, something's happening to me and I need to be addressed. Just like that, when you have a mental illness, a simple way to understand it is that the brain is having like a brain attack. The difference, however, is along with the heart attack, which is the heart is invisible, but we have symptoms which are very obvious. People have different symptoms, physical symptoms that was obvious. In mental illness, especially in the early stages, the symptoms are not obvious. You cannot even see it. That's one. The second thing is, the person who's suffering from the mental illness, they have no insight into what's happening to them. Whereas those who have a physical illness, they have an insight. So these are the two key factors we need to remember in mental illness. When people have mental illness or they're suffering from mental illness, it is obvious to us when the needle has moved, sir, and it's in a certain state of seriousness, because then we observe that they are dysfunctional, in their sleep patterns are erratic, that is, they sleep too much or they sleep too little, or there's a general feeling of apathy. Some people express a lot of emotion, anger. So there are a whole lot of things. That is the difference between mental illness and physical illness. And now to understand that mental well-being is a very broad term. It has, you're well and you're ill also. That's the broad thing.
Yeah, so now when we know that what is mental well-being, so how did your foundation, the Live Love Laugh Foundation, come about, and what is the idea behind this foundation?
The foundation was created post Deepika's episode with depression and anxiety, and when she recovered, she started paying a lot of attention to the illness, and she realized the stigma surrounding it, and because of who she is as a social influencer, she decided to contribute her social influence in the area of breaking stigma and raising awareness, because she became more and more aware of the number of people who are suffering silently. And her first need was that she said, if I speak up and save one life, I've done something. And that's how the foundation was created. And it was created really with the focus on destigmatization and raising awareness.
So you just spoke about Deepika coming out. So post that incident, have you seen people opening up much more, or have you seen any change in the people, the way people are looking at mental health or mental illness? Are they actually coming out and speaking up to you?
I think a lot of people, especially the youth of India, the urban youth. And when I say the youth of India, I would say more people in the generation of say 20 to 30. Because one aspect which I credit with your generation is there is a certain strength you'll have in being open. You're not, in a sense, so ashamed as my generation. There somehow I see that there's a need for your generation to be honest and authentic about whatever those issues are. So yes, after she spoke up, the number of people who have come out and asked for professional support is definitely on the increase. And we've been, the foundation started in 2015 and now it's 2020. And I think the number of, not just people who are suffering, but if you actually just look at the mental health space, the number of people who are getting into mental health initiatives, or even, businesses using tech to give mental health support, I think all that has increased. So I think those are very obvious to us that when she spoke up, she has in a way changed the direction of the conversation in mental health.
Yeah, so that led to a revolution, we can say. And we also remember during that time there was this campaign called Bara Poocho, which is still there. So can you tell us more about what is it? What is the idea behind Bara Poocho?
So basically, the Bara Poocho, in a way, it was again a campaign for the more, I would say, for the urban area people. Basically, to say one of the things that happens is we are insensitive to people. So the Bara Poocho is ask again. I'll tell you why. If I see you in the morning and you don't look well, and I ask you how are you, and you say I'm okay. And yet, when you say I'm okay, I'm not feeling happy with that response. Something's saying no, there's something going on. But most often, when you say I'm okay, I'll say okay, he's okay, and I walk away. We are saying, when I say ask again, is when I ask you how are you, and you say I'm okay, but I'm not feeling you're okay. It is okay for me to say how are you, or are you okay? So it's us encouraging and promoting people to ask that question twice, and not just take those minimalistic answers, to probe a little deeper.
Yeah, so you were saying how we need to ask again, and at the same time, you were saying how our generation is very open about things, how we want attention all the time, but still we are hesitant to talk about things, right? And for example, I post something on Instagram today, I'm constantly worried about how many likes I got, what are the comments. It's easy to upset us. So, where do you think we can draw the line there?
So I see your question in three parts. I think when I say you're open is you're willing to face and therefore share whatever is happening. To me, that's openness. Is that related to you wanting likes and concerned also if you'll be trolled on any forms of social media? I think they're two separate issues. One is you're being open, which is an aspect, but is there a possibility that you're afraid or you're concerned about the likes or the way whatever you post is received? Yes, because somewhere I think that same generation, that is the generation I talk about, they somehow have made an association between these likes and how you feel about yourself, the feel good factor. Actually, they're two separate things, because suppose somebody gives you 1 million likes and your general sense of yourself is not good, then 1 million likes will not be enough. From 1 million it will need to rise to 2 million. So I think if we are going to depend on our sense of well-being and sense of feeling good about ourselves on external sources, then it will not be okay for us and it will be dissatisfactory, which then will actually make us feel uncomfortable and have low self-esteem. So I think the way we use, to me, social media is a tool that we need to use to function in various businesses, how we think. But if social media becomes your partner, your companion, then I would think there's something here that we need to be concerned about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we speak of, people, should be not hesitant of speaking out mental health. But if you actually see on a personal level, it does matter. Like, I am not comfortable, talking out. And we know that statistics says India is the first depressed country in the world. So where are we heading, or what is it? Is it that because we have been taught of performance at school, right from the school, there's pressure and we perform in pressure. Do you think has that got something to do with how we have been brought up in our country? Like, you have been told to be the first in the line always.
I think performance or different various, okay, in currently in India we have so many social issues. We can have something as what you're talking about as academic performances, and which in a way is really because it becomes the platform in our understanding of your future physical survival, because you look at a job, you go and that becomes part of your physical survival. I think performance, other social issues. Currently in India, I think gender is a social issue. We have gender issues, we have political issues, we have actual migration issues. People, when I say migration, I'm not talking about you coming from abroad and living. Suppose now all of us are from Bangalore as a city. Suppose people come, say, from a Bangarapet or a Kolar, the small towns surrounding this metro. It's a huge cultural shock. So that's part of migration. You're coming here to study or to work. All these factors impact us. They impact us, and when they impact us, if they go unaddressed, and we keep getting impacted by these kind of factors, that can lead to one of the contributing factors of depression. So when you both ask me about your generation, I think yes, there's an honesty, but that's first to be able to say yes, I'm going through things. I think the next step is actually to seek professional intervention in terms of going to a counselor or going to a psychotherapist. When you have these stressors, I always tell people, you don't go when you're ill. You go when you are impacted by something in life which you are finding difficult to manage. Because if you go when you're finding something difficult to manage and you address it then the needle is not moving towards a pathology. Just imagine a pressure cooker. Okay, when we switch on the pressure cooker, after some time, continuously, what will happen? Okay, the steam, if there's no safety valve, the steam will get caught in the pressure cooker and the lid will fly off. What is the safety valve for? The safety valve is that when the steam is there, periodically the valve moves up and the steam is allowed to escape. So I think what's important is to address issues with a professional as and when they surface, so that you dissipate that and you minimize the collection of stressors into your mind and body.
So Anna, yeah, you have been doing immense work in this field. You have been, I can say that you have been changing lives of so many. So I personally have one question for you. Everybody says that practice makes one perfect. So you have extensive practice. But don't you think that any time in your career have you ever felt that this is affecting me as well? Like, because you see so many stories. It's just that we as a patient, if I come to you as a patient, for me it's just that the one doctor I'm coming to. But you see day in and day out, you see so many people, so many stories. Won't that impact you? How strong you should be, to face this?
So let me tell you something which it's a question that I've been thinking about. So this is my 26th year of practice. For 26 years, I've not woken up one morning saying, I don't want to do this. I'll tell you why. Because the lessons that I have learned from the experience of people and their lives, which they share with me, they share their vulnerabilities. I don't think any amount of formal education could have given me those life lessons, which have really benefited me. Also, that as practitioners, we do have systems of self-care to take care of ourselves. For example, practitioners, we go for our own personal therapy. We take supervision for our work. As long as we're professionally practicing, somebody like me, we take supervision because there are sometimes you feel stuck. I also do yoga. I have physical activity. These are self-care activities, not that I just talk to my clients about. I do it for myself. You do some lighter stuff. So what is important is that in this work, you need to be very objective, and you need to be able to help the person who's sitting with you sometimes have these difficult, uncomfortable conversations to face their demons. And that happens, that's when they feel relieved. So I think it's important for me to be objective, that I need to engage in these self-care activities and also take care of myself in terms of physical aspects and my emotional aspects. Yes, I still have to end by saying the lessons that I've learned out of the therapeutic space, the life lessons, are just fabulous. So there's no regret even for a second.
So being said that, you have learned so much and you love your profession. Was this something that you always wanted to do, or?
No. I have to be very open and say, and I always tell people who feel stuck, I believe that especially as a woman, I think my blossoming started from the age of 35. I was always a good listener because of my own personal background. But I think once I got into this, there's never been a question that do I want to change from this.
So this was all. We actually wanted to know from you, what is it that there was stigma around, about mental health, and why are people really hesitant. So thank you so much for being a part of the Chai or Coffee Show for this series, and thank you for watching the Chai or Coffee Show. Do let us know what you felt about the video in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified next time when we are on YouTube. See you soon, and until then, take care.